We are back in the studio after a fantastic weekend in Tuscaloosa. Shout out again to Ennis-Free, everybody on the production team here. It was a huge success, and we thank you guys for tuning in and watching it. We got a ton of clips of Man on the Street interviews that are absolutely wild that we're going to be posting. Hopefully get those out soon, so make sure you get those. Got a ton of football to get into, but first, David, the Braves and Mets. Braves are up 3-0 right now in the bottom of the seventh. I just want to let people know. First off, we played 350 regular season games to get to this point down where a doubleheader is going to determine it. So you got the Braves, the Mets, and the D-backs trying to get a wild card spot, right? So you got a doubleheader today, Braves against the Mets. If they split, which means the Mets win one and the Braves win one, then both the Mets and the Braves get in and the Diamondbacks do not, right? If one team wins two, which if the Braves win this first one, they're in regardless. But if one team wins two, obviously, the team that loses those two is not in, and the Diamondbacks will be in. So the Braves, don't want to jinx it. They're up 3 right now to all our Mets fans out there.
And the Diamondbacks don't play today.
Do what?
The Diamondbacks don't play today.
Don't play today. The Diamondbacks, they're done.
So they're just on the outside looking.
They're on the outside looking
at this doubleheader.
They're having to hope. They're having to hope right now. So, again, they're wanting a sweep either way, whether it's the Mets win 2 or the Braves win 2. But we got some football to get to. I say we get to it. Alabama moves to number 1 in the AP poll following a win over Georgia. Do they belong there? Colorado delivers a big win, probably the biggest in the Deion Sanders era over UCF. And we preview Georgia and Auburn and Texas A&M and Missouri coming up for this weekend. I'm Jake Crain. Welcome to the Monday Fun Day edition of Crain and Company. We got to rock and roll. There's a legitimate conversation to be had about who the number 1 ranked team in the country should be right now. Alabama, Texas, Ohio State. You can make a rational argument for multiple teams. But for me right now, Alabama is the number 1 team in the country, and here is why. Bama has the best win of the year so far after beating Georgia at home. I know they blew a big lead, but it's one type of mental toughness to dominate an opponent, put your foot on the throat, and end it. It's a totally different type of mental toughness to blow that big lead, then get it right back and hold on to it and win. That takes guts and maturity. Another reason is Jalen Milroe is operating at his most efficient rate right now. He's turned into a pretty complete passer, not just an outfielder that can throw a guy out from home or just throw the deep ball. He also has the maturity to understand he doesn't need to prove to anyone that he's a pocket passer purely, because he isn't. He's playing to his strengths, and the offense is tailored to him like a fine suit. On the Texas side, I worry about Quinn Ewers' availability. Arch Manning has a bright future, but he's not a national championship quarterback right now, and Milroe doesn't get hurt. He only hurts tacklers and opposing fans' feelings. The best ability is availability, and with Quinn, we really don't know down the stretch. When you add all of that together, Alabama looks to be the most stable team and has even more potential and room to grow as this season continues. Now, that isn't to say they can't be surpassed. There's a long way to go. But for right now, I've got Bama number 1 by a nose. We want to know what you think as well. Let us know who you think the top team is in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. David Cohn, right now, who is your number 1 team in the country and why?
It's Alabama, and I really don't think it's close. I mean, the Buckeyes haven't really played any stellar competition yet, and we just learned from Ole Miss, hey, when you really get into a football game, that's how we find out what you're all about. And then as far as Texas, we're only a few months removed from Florida State not being able to make the playoff because their star quarterback was hurt. So if Quinn Ewers isn't going to play, then we're going to see if Texas is going to be held out. But I get it. That's the AP poll versus the college football playoff. It's still September. Today's the last day of September. Whoever's ranked number 1 doesn't matter all that much. But to me, it's Alabama. And here's my 3 main takeaways from this weekend. 1, what an awesome football game in an incredible environment. Tuscaloosa is the mecca of college football. We thought we might be in for something like this, which is why we picked that game to go to. And man, did it live up to the hype. And it wasn't for an SEC championship. It wasn't for a national championship. It was just a good old-fashioned fall Saturday in September on a college campus. 2, Georgia, congrats to them on coming back and not just making the game close. They took a lead. Now, I mean, they were outplayed and out-physicaled for 3+ quarters of that football game, and I don't think that they're going to be ranked in the top 4 or the top 5 as we move forward here. I mean, I know
I think they're 5. I got them at 5.
You have them at 5 right now? Okay. So, and that'll beg the question that I know we're going to get into. Does this say more about Alabama or Georgia? But they couldn't get anything figured out on either side of the football for most of that game. And when you're playing with your back against the wall and you're going for every 4th down, it's a little bit different throughout the course of the game. But kudos to them for being able to come back in that environment on the road, to be able to take the lead. That was incredible. And then my third takeaway is if Jalen Milroe is going to play like that, if he's going to throw the ball that effectively, combined with what he already has been doing the last couple seasons on the ground with his legs, then Alabama can beat every team in the country. They really can. Will they? It remains to be seen. But those are my top 3 takeaways, and what a weekend, man.
Man, incredible. Blaine, who's your number 1 team in the country right now?
I mean, I think you have to put Alabama there, but I do think it's close. I think
it's close.
I think what I took out of the Alabama and Georgia game is, damn, I like watching Tennessee play football. I think Tennessee's defense is better than both these defenses we saw Saturday. And I think the offense is still getting better for Tennessee. But I will say this. And the one thing I questioned walking into this game that I got the answer to is, can Jalen Milroe do the easy things well, right? I know Jalen can make the hard things look really easy when it comes to football, but can he make the easy throws? Can he do the right things at the right moments? And he made it look like it's supposed to be. The easy, simple, short throws, going through progressions, seeing defense, knowing pre-snap where guys are coming, throwing into the blitz, the growth we wanted to see to Jalen Milroe becoming a full quarterback. We saw that. Right now, my Heisman leader, it's tough for me not to put Ryan Williams there. It's not because of the
Ryan Williams over Jalen Milroe.
Yes, I think so. To be honest, to me, he's like 14 years old, okay? He can be 19 years old at the Senior Bowl. And what this kid is doing right now is amazing to me. These aren't a bunch of scrubs that he's playing against Georgia. He is making them look like they're minor league players, like they don't belong in the same league as him. It's not only the routes. Don't get disguised by the routes. What he does after the catch, the balance, the focus that he has, you see this from seniors and guys in the NFL. So right now, Ryan Williams, with that age and what he is doing, and look, it's a quarterback trophy. I get it. We all know that. But what he is doing right now, the kid is ICB ongoing. The aura is unstoppable, and it's only going to get more and more and more. And the one game I'm notching right now that I can't wait for is Alabama at Tennessee.
That is, and I agree with you 100% about Tennessee's defense, especially after seeing Ole Miss now. To the Texas part of this, because I do want to talk about, again, the things that separate it, and it's minute to me. It's not a big gap. If Texas is at full strength and Alabama is at full strength, which basically means it's Quinn Ewers playing with Texas, and they play on a neutral site, I would take Alabama right now. I think Alabama would probably still be favored in that game right now. It'd basically be a pick 'em because of the running element of Jalen Milroe. Do I think the Texas defense is better than Alabama's defense? I do. I think they're better. Not saying Alabama's defense is bad, but overall, I would take Texas's defense over Alabama's defense. The difference is the Texas defense has to play against Jalen Milroe. The Alabama defense only has to practice against Jalen Milroe. So when you look at least in college and the way the game is played, if Jalen Milroe continues to do this and continues, and Blaine, I think, put it very eloquently, making the easy things easy, or what do we say, making the routine plays routine. We talk about in baseball not giving teams more than 27 outs in a 9-inning game. Jalen Milroe showed you everything. Now, it wasn't perfect all the way through. I thought he actually put that ball that was intercepted in a decent spot because he saw the guy that was in front of him. Probably
come out down near the goal line?
Yeah, near the goal line. I didn't think that was an egregious throw. Sometimes stuff like that happens when you're having to fit a ball in between two defenders. But the running ability and watching the way that Alabama, and again, you give Georgia credit for coming back, but the way for 2.5 quarters, it wasn't like fluky things were happening and they were catching double-tip passes or that Georgia was busting coverages all over the place. Alabama was lining up and whipping their ass the way that we have watched Georgia line up and whip everybody's ass because you had better players, whether it was in the run game, whether it was in the pass game. But on the Georgia side, I want to throw this caveat in there. I think this second half, you want to win the game. There are no moral victories, especially against Alabama with Kirby Smart. But I think you found a couple things out from Georgia. I would not be shocked if you saw Georgia start to go more up-tempo. They looked better to me when they were having to go faster. It takes the thinking out of it, and it puts the defense in a bad position. There's a reason you see so many up-tempo offenses now. And with an offense that lacked finding explosive plays, I think it gives them the best chance to hit those explosive plays, and it doesn't give Carson Beck too much time to think about it, right? There was a totally different guy you saw in the second half with Carson Beck. So I wonder if you're going to see Georgia going a little bit more up-tempo, and they were able to find those explosive plays, which should give you some confidence even though you lost the game. I just think on a neutral site, Texas versus Alabama, I think Alabama wins by a field goal right now because Jalen Milroe can make plays with his legs, whether it be extending the play outside of the pocket and throwing, extending the play inside the pocket and throwing, and then in the run game where you truly get a hat on a hat with Q power, Q counter. We saw Power Reed at the goal line a lot. They almost scored with him keeping it one time. They did when he gave the jet sweep that's part of the Power Reed motion. Quinn Ewers can extend the play from in the pocket, and he's not a bad runner. But I think there's a lot of Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers when you watch the way they play.
Well, let's just hope we get an Alabama-Texas matchup. I don't know if it could be in the SEC championship. I don't know if it could be in the college football playoff. But let's hope we get that matchup. And if you're not going to put Alabama number one, then I think you have to go Texas. Strength of schedule at this point in the season has to count for something. Texas went on the road and beat Michigan, beat them thoroughly. You got Alabama hosting Georgia right now. To me, those sorts of games have to matter. A couple other things here when you're talking about Georgia fighting back and the implications that has on the playoff later because you didn't get blown out.
That's the
going
part
to be
we
in
made
people's
after the
mind.
show.
That was a point that you brought up. Alabama didn't get complacent in the second half. I just went back this morning and watched the entire game, the first half and the second half. Even when they're up 28-7 with a couple minutes left in the first half, they're throwing the ball almost every play. On fourth down, when they could have kicked a field goal, Alabama went for it on 4th and 1 and didn't convert that. They didn't get complacent. Georgia's defense just turned into the defense we knew they were. They were run-fitting better. They were able to protect better against that quarterback counter and power stuff that you're talking about. And then on defense, Georgia just was hitting some big 4 vertical shots. But one more point on the Ryan Williams thing, because you have him as your Heisman leader right now. What I thought was incredible is Alabama was beating Georgia 28-0 at one point in this game, and we didn't even mention Ryan Williams' name. Yes, he has all the attention because of the big play that he made at the end of the game, and that wasn't even a great throw by Jalen Milroe. We're going to break it down tomorrow.
That was just
get
the ball up.
Ryan Williams just go catch it and make a play.
And that's what Georgia did until the end where they threw the interception.
But keep in mind, for most of the game, Alabama was just throttling Georgia without us even mentioning that kid.
And I do want to make a point. I want to ask you a question, David, and then I'm going to get to the chat. We're going to talk about the wide receivers making catches and all these spin moves. You want to know what goes and wins games? I want you to go back and watch that game if you have time. Watch Alabama's wide receivers block. It is a masterclass in not only fitting it upright, not holding once the play is made, but finishing the block. That's something that doesn't get talked about enough. That's what turns 20-yard runs into 80-yard runs. That's what turns, if you're running the ball trying to get a first down on 3rd and 5, a 2-yard run into a 6-yard run and a first down. I was so impressed with the blocking ability of Alabama's wide receivers in key moments as well, not just catching passes, not just running routes and doing the little things, the dirty things. But for those in the chat that are saying, why not Ohio State? Why not put Ohio State number one right now? You're seeing what Jeremiah Smith's doing. Offensively, they look to kind of figure it out against Michigan State. What would you say to people who are like, Ohio State needs to be the number one?
Well, and they may be the best team in the country in the next 4 weeks. Do you have their schedule pulled up, Lane? Can you pull up their schedule?
Yeah.
The next 4 weeks, we're going to find out so much. Their day in the sun is right in front of us. I know they have Iowa coming up, and I think at the end of that, what's the 4 games?
All right, so you have Iowa at home, you're at Oregon, Nebraska at home, and at Penn State.
Perfect. Let's find out a lot more about the Buckeyes. But like I said, strength of schedule has to count for something, right? Are you not going to reward the teams who are also undefeated like you are, but have played tougher teams?
No, without a doubt. And then again, if you win your conference, you're one of the top 4 teams, you get a bye anyway. You're going to play somebody good in that second game anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I'm still a little worried about Ohio State's offensive line and then Will Howard's ability to throw the ball against elite teams. I've got to see it, but we are going to see it. Like you said, their day in the sun is coming. So Ohio State may have the best team in the country. We just haven't been able to see it yet. And Ole Miss playing the way they did, and we're going to get into that against Kentucky, really doesn't help that. But if you want to bet on the new, SEC favorite, Alabama, you want to bet on Ohio State, Kent State, or if you want to bet politics, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure that you add betonline.ag to your sportsbook repertoire, or if you don't, they need to be your first kiss. They've got all the spreads. It's easy to navigate the website. That's what we use, whether it's teasers, whether it's parlays, whether it's props. It doesn't matter. Going into the MLB playoffs, we got so much going on in the sports world, and they even have bets outside of it. The payout methods, they're versatile. Any way you want to get paid out, it's timely. You don't have to worry. They have it buttoned up. So add betonline.ag to your sportsbook repertoire today. I just like saying the word repertoire, not because it's French. Don't make that joke. But when you go there, use code BOOSTER, and you get a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $150. That's betonline.ag. Use promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, for a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. It's free money, people. Bet online, where the options are endless, and so is the fun. Let's get to the chat.
All right, chat, hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you donate. It's on topic. It will get read. A lot to get to on this Monday. We're going to start off with Ken O. What's up, brother? Says Milroe was involved in almost 500 yards of offense at an 80-plus completion rate. I do not know how he's not on the top of the Heisman list, because I'm a receiver and I'm sick of watching quarterbacks.
No, Jalen Milroe's on the top of the Heisman list. I mean, we can talk about Biletnikoff and all this stuff. And a quarterback's winning it, right? Travis Hunter can get invited, and we're going to talk about Colorado. Let's see if they keep winning, though. That could be the fly in the ointment, to quote our good friend Tim Brando. But right now, Jalen Milroe's got to be leading the Heisman. You look at the way Cam Ward played against Virginia Tech. Obviously, Jackson Dart against Kentucky losing that game. There was a point, David, during our live stream where he was 11 for 11. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was toward the end of the second quarter. And I looked at you and said, this is the equivalent of pitching a perfect game.
Yeah.
Not just because he didn't have an incompletion, but the way he was running it and his decision-making, right? It's all encompassed. He was literally pitching a perfect game. And again, credit to Georgia coming back. But Cole Kubick put out a clip of when Georgia pressured him, right? And they brought more against empty than Alabama can block. You bring 6 versus 5. You can't, when you're in empty, you can't block it. And he literally made the Georgia defender miss and then took off. And you say, as a defense, what call do you make to stop that? There's only one call you can make, and that's to the police. That's it. Or the Pope. So, I mean, sometimes, look, scheme, we can sit here and talk about scheme. We're going to talk about it with Texas A&M and Missouri here in a little bit. And that's all great and good and fun and this, that, and the other. But it's the players who make the plays, the Jims and Joes, not the X's and O's, that win the game. And sometimes you can have the perfect call, and a great player makes you look stupid. I've seen some of the smartest coaches in the world look dumb because they didn't have the players. I've seen some of the dumbest coaches in the world look smart because they had better players than you. That's why recruiting will always be, whether it's through the transfer portal or through high school, the lifeblood of a program. It is about the guys catching the ball, throwing the ball, making the tackles, not the guys with the headsets telling them how to do it.
Yeah, so Jalen was 11 for 11, like you talked about. That was about 3 minutes left in the first half, and on the 12th pass, it was called a completion. They had to go back and overturn it. Almost started 12 for 12. And I'm so glad you made the point about the interception, because I completely agree with you. That interception later that was down near the goal line, it was a bad throw. But it was the type of bad throw that almost always leads to an incompletion. That ball still had to get tipped up in the air for it to be an interception.
And that guy would tell you should have caught it.
Yeah, and exactly. The riskier throw came later in the game in one-on-one coverage where it got batted down. That's the one that could have been
when he could have jumped.
It gave me vibes on that pick he threw against Texas last year. But again, a near perfect game. And like I said, if he's going to be that efficient through the air with what he can already do on the ground, like, Alabama's going to be so tough to beat, man.
Oh, let's go to BJ, the Gravedigger, who said, I've said this for months and I'll keep saying it, but the only game that scared me on the schedule is going to playing at Neyland Stadium at Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's because of these teams, if you look, and I'm telling you, Nico is only going to get better. I mean, that game against Oklahoma, Heupel even said, I pulled back off of it a little bit. We were just pitching to contact in the second half because you didn't want to blow it, kind of like Auburn did against Oklahoma. So you see the difference there in the smart way to go about things and the dumb way to go about things. But when you look at this Tennessee team, again, it's the capability to run the ball at the quarterback position and the running back position, which Alabama can do really well. But it's defensively where I think if you're an Alabama fan, you're like, all right, if there's a game where our defense is going to have to go win it, maybe because the offense, not that they wouldn't score, but they're not going to be clicking on all cylinders, it's going to have to be that Tennessee game, because that Tennessee defense for real. Now, you can say what you want about the schedule, but you can turn on and look and watch those guys run around, and if you close your eyes and just hear it, that team could give Alabama some problems, and it's at home.
Let's go to a $10 donation from Andrew Hodge. Appreciate it. Andrew said, Jake, it was nice talking to you at the World of Beer and flaming on the phone. DeBoer is still undefeated against Kirby, Stark, and Dan Lanning. The dynasty continues. Roll Tide.
I saw that stat.
Yeah, well, Andrew, it was great to see you too, my friend. You can sit here and say, well, Alabama's Georgia's kryptonite, and Kalen DeBoer is coming in, and he made a statement, and he did. But the thing I got out of that game the most, outside of Jalen Milroe as superhuman, was that Alabama's maturity as a team to handle giving up a lead like that in a game like that where you have dominated and it just fell quick, to be able to respond that quickly and then hold on to it at the end, tells me more about Kalen DeBoer replacing Nick Saban than anything else does. This team still has that mental fortitude, and that's why, again, David, I said before the year, Jalen Milroe's impact as a leader is going to be maybe double as important as his ability on the field. And you saw him keep that group together and make the right decision to go to the 14-year-old out at wide receiver to make the play.
Yeah, and I think Georgia needed that win more than Alabama just in terms of what the rest of the schedule is for both teams, because Georgia's still going to have to go to Ole Miss, have to go to Texas, and you got Tennessee at home. Look, that's going to be tough to navigate.
All right, let's move on to rapid fire here.
Rapid fire reactions. We got to a couple of these, but I really want to go into a little bit more in depth and a couple games from the weekend that we didn't get to because they were the night games. Let's start with Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss losing to Kentucky.
You know, Blaine, I got to give you your flowers here because you made a comment that Lane Kiffin, you know, saying the thing about Hugh Freeze, a team they're not playing in the middle of the week, you need to focus on Kentucky. And I sat here and said, well, Lane's just being Lane. He's always going to do this. And we've seen in the past that, you know, I know he hasn't won a lot of big games, but he's taking care of the other games, right? This, and I want to give credit to Kentucky first. Mark Stoops had a great game plan. I didn't think they'd be able to bounce back after the game against Georgia just because of the physicality, and you were so close, and it's so hard to get up and then go on the road, right, and play a quality team and win that game after the physical beatdown that you take regardless if you win or lose when you play Georgia. Ole Miss looked unprepared to me on both sides of the ball. They looked unprepared. And Kentucky looked like, Ole Miss looked like a team that was already fed. They weren't hungry, which baffles me because Ole Miss hasn't won anything. I mean, let's be honest. A New Year's Six Bowl, that's great. That's not what Ole Miss fans want with this team. This is the team that's supposed to take them to the next level. This is the team that's supposed to get them that SEC championship. They've never even played in the game. They split in 2003. You got West Division with LSU, but they didn't play in the SEC championship game. This was the team that's supposed to go toe-to-toe and be able to beat Alabama and beat Georgia at home and say, you know what? Ole Miss is not just somebody that can get close. They can get there and do damage when they get there. So to watch them just show up and think that Kentucky, because they got beat on both sides of the line of scrimmage, both of them. I was more shocked that Kentucky's front seven was able to dominate Ole Miss so consistently, their offensive line. You know, the defense we still had to see, we felt like it was better. But not only do I feel like the players were unprepared, Pete Golding did not get out of his too high shell when they were getting killed by the square end over and over and over again on third down. And sometimes the game plan isn't working and you need to adjust. But you didn't adjust. It was almost like he was holding back not to show too much of what they'll do on important downs. And it cost you. Kentucky showed up and Ole Miss played that game on their terms. Played it on their terms. Kentucky sat on the ball. They dominated third down. Ole Miss was like 1 for 11. When it came to who can make the field goals and make plays in special teams, it was Kentucky, not Ole Miss. And Jackson Dart looked like the flustered quarterback because there was so much pressure in the backfield. So I felt like this was a total no-show for Lane Kiffin's team. I think he would agree with me deep down. He may not say it. But on that same note, I don't think Ole Miss is done. I'm not ready to call Ole Miss fraudulent yet. Now they have to really thread the needle. You could still get in the playoff at 10-2 with that schedule. I think they'll still get in. But now you cannot afford to have any hiccup. You have given yourself no breathing room because you were unprepared to play a Kentucky team. You thought you were too good to play this Kentucky team, and they went into your house and they beat you even when you took the lead in the second half. So, David, Blaine, I'm not ready to throw Ole Miss out, right, because I was high on them before the year. But you better wake up, and you better wake up quick, because you're not Bama. You're not Georgia. You're not Tennessee. You have to prove that you can do it. You should still be as hungry as ever, if not even more hungry, and not act like you're fed, and that's what they look like to me.
Are you throwing them out?
You're frauds.
Complete frauds.
You're frauds. Who have you beaten? Who have you played? Who have you played? Who? Wake Forest? Congrats. You beat a bunch of lawyers and communists, probably. Let's give Kentucky's a good football team.
Communist thing, Wake it like that. I wouldn't throw that.
That's a joke. It's a joke. Kentucky's a good football team, and they should get their roses and credits where it's due. A lot of team in Kentucky's schedule is not going to be looking in the same. Trust me, that Tennessee game in a couple of weeks is going to be a little bit interesting. But I sat here on a Wednesday, and it's funny when I ever bring anything up about any other team, they just take it right back to Auburn, like I care or it hurts me. But Lane Kiffin was talking about a team and a head coach, okay, that they weren't even playing. And we've said this about Lane Kiffin. Oh, well, this is Lane. He's a troll. This is this. Well, do you want to be a troll or actually win something that matters? That's the question. Because if you want to go back and live like you're in college and do TikToks and do all this stuff and look flashy and looks like a bunch of frat boys doing your little walk before the game, that's fine. It's about culture. And right now, it's a culture problem at Ole Miss. That's what it is. They need to lock in and focus on what they need to do and stop worrying about everybody else. It's about y'all, what you need to do each day in and out to get the job done, not all this other stuff. Every time we talk about Lane Kiffin, half of the time it's not even about football, and it needs to stop. If you want to win something, you have to lock in and get it done. You'll never see this out of any other program that's actually won something in their life. Nick Saban's, the Kirby Smart, the driving thing, that's different. That's different. And Ole Miss, it's not about Auburn or Hugh Freeze. I don't care about that. I'm trying to help y'all win something that matters because you got the talent. You got the roster. What's the problem?
Mm-hmm. Well, Blaine, I agree with you, man. I mean, it turned out to be right. You were right. They can say whatever they want, cry in their hands or whatever, and half and point at how bad Auburn is. Again, nobody sends us a check individually. I'll tell you the truth about them, too. But when it comes down to when you act the way, and we say this about Deion Sanders, David, when you act and you go out there and you talk the talk and you troll or you do this and act in a certain way, when you're winning, it's great. It's funny. You're hilarious. You're a new wave coach, right? You kind of do it differently. But when you're losing, it hits twice as hard. It hits twice as hard. So that's the risk when you behave like that you take, right? And again, Lane's going to be Lane. He's going to keep being Lane.
He's going to keep being Lane, but
I think he's going to change.
Him keeping being Lane, to me, is keeping not living up to the hype. As a head coach, as a coordinator, when Nick Saban's the head coach, y'all won the championship. But at USC, at Tennessee, with the Raiders, I mean, it continues to not live up to the hype to me. But you guys said everything that needed to be said.
Well, and also, I want to make this point. The phone lines are going to open at 2:45 p.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. We want to hear from you. We want to keep the calls rolling and quick. But first, I want to talk about Responsible Man. What is Responsible Man? It's a multivitamin that's packed with 33 key ingredients that support your immune system, sharpen your brain, and keep your heart and your muscles strong. We don't get all the vitamins we need. We try. Some of you might. Congratulations. You can still use a little help probably, but I don't. I know my wife gets on me about it. This way you take them. You don't have to worry about it. They're not those vitamins that smell like they've been hiding under Bigfoot's armpits for 3 years. They got a nice minty flavor, and they get all the nutrients that you need. And right now you can take advantage of Responsible Man's fall sale. All right, and get 30% off your order plus an additional $9 off your first order when you go to responsibleman.com and use code BOOSTER at checkout. You need to hurry. This deal is not going to last long. Plus, Responsible Man, just so you know, it is made right here in the USA. No cheap imports, no outsourcing, just good American quality like the kind of football we love. Remember, America needs a strong men, and strong men start with Responsible Man. So go to responsibleman.com, use that code BOOSTER at checkout for the 30% off plus $9 off your first order. And our Responsible Man of the Week, which has been a coach. We were going to say Kalen DeBoer, David, but I think we should go with Prime. Deion Sanders took Colorado down to UCF and got what I think is the biggest win of the Coach Prime Colorado era.
Easily his best win. I mean, this was the type of win that we were promised, right? Not like barely holding on to beat South Dakota State or something like that. I mean, if you go on the road and you can beat Central Florida like that, then I really think the way the rest of the Big 12 has gone, and I think this we need to talk about this in the context of how the conference is looking, that Colorado could beat anyone else that's on their schedule. Right now, Utah has a loss. Oklahoma State has 2 losses. BYU's undefeated right now, leading the conference. So that conference has been completely inverted. And if you look at it, I mean, you have to say Colorado could potentially beat any one of those teams. And if they can, well, then they could win the conference. If you win the conference, you can make the playoff.
Like, can you pull up their schedule real quick? Because I
already got it up.
Yeah, that's why they call you the Dragon.
All right, you have Kansas State at home. Yeah. All right, you go to Arizona, Cincinnati at home, at Texas Tech. You play Utah at home, whoever the hell's going to be the quarterback there. Then you play at Kansas. You finish the year Oklahoma State at home.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, remember, their one loss was to Nebraska.
Out of conference.
Nebraska's in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And David, the best point, you made a lot of good points, but the best point is this Big 12 around Colorado, and I don't want this to sound like I am discrediting Colorado as a team. This is a good thing for Colorado. Is not as good as what we thought and a lot of people thought. You look at Utah, you bring up the quarterback situation. I don't know if Cam Rising's ever going to play. This is the most I've never seen somebody make so much money and be a part-time employee. too. Like, it's incredible. Now, I know Cam Rising is actually injured, right? It's not like he's faking anything or whatever. He's legitimately hurt. But it doesn't matter if you're faking it or it's real. If you're not playing quarterback, Utah cannot do the things that we thought they were going to. And there was a risk in picking Utah like I did because Cam Rising has been so unavailable. I can't sit here and talk about Quinn Ewers being unavailable and not talk about Cam Rising. You look at Kansas State, you get him at home. Kansas State beat Oklahoma State to death. That's great. But I don't think Kansas State is way, way further ahead than Colorado is from a playmaking ability. The difference may come up front. But that's why I think this win for Colorado is the most credible one that Prime has had since he's been there. Not that UCF is a juggernaut up front. They went to the transfer portal during the offseason and imported a new defense because they were awful last year. But they are respectable up front. And for Colorado to go down there and do what they did against this team, and I don't want to hear any excuses. I don't want to hear about the weather or anything like that. Both those teams showed up at the same time, and both those coaching staff showed up at the same time, and one got after the other, and it was Colorado getting after UCF. And if Colorado can just stalemate up front, see, that's the thing, and that's what we've talked about. Colorado doesn't have to dominate teams up front. Yeah. They don't have to sit here and run for 300 yards and have 9 sacks a game. They just got to play decent enough to let Shadur and Travis and Shepard and Horn and Wester and these guys cook. Give Shadur enough time to let him cook because they are really good there. And looking around the rest of the Big 12, Kansas isn't what we thought they were.
No.
Not even close. Oklahoma State can't stop a nosebleed in a nurse's office right now. Yeah. Unless it's Utah and they're playing with Zach Wilson's, little brother at quarterback. So this Colorado team, and I'll be the first one to sit here and say, is it a product of the Big 12 being down? Yeah, a little bit. But you got to make sure and give Colorado credit for not being one of those teams that's down. They're punching above their weight, I think, up front on the line of scrimmage right now. And the more confident this type of team gets, the more dangerous they get because Prime's got them believing. Like, there's no self-doubt with this team. It's one thing to think you can do it. And Drake says this, it's real when you are who you thought you were. Right now, Colorado is thinking, hey, we may be who we thought we were. And nothing is more dangerous for the opponent than that group of guys and the way Prime operates for them to be confident and seeing proof of concept on the field.
Well, Blaine, Colorado has been deficient in the type of areas that it's really hard to win football games throughout the stretch of a season when you're deficient in the front seven or up front. And they've been making up for that at the skill positions because they have some of the best skill position guys in the country, which usually helps you win games at the beginning of the year before you get banged up and you have to go week after week, which is what we saw a year ago. So, yes, down the stretch of this schedule, which is the toughest part for them, they could still go 4-8. Of course they could. But they could also beat any team on that schedule. I mean, what do you realistically think the chances are that Colorado could win the conference now?
I think they're good. I think the Big 12 is an extremely mediocre conference. Mm-hmm. It really is. With Cam Rising out at Utah, what team other than, I guess, Kansas State are you impressed with?
I don't think
Kansas State haven't even impressed me.
I don't think
BYU.
BYU, you have to give BYU all the credit. Sure. I just don't think that conference right now has a team that could win a playoff game.
I don't think so either.
And I
think probably the best one outside, if Cam Rising is not playing quarterback, might be Colorado, depending on the matchup. Well, because after, what defense? True defense right now, you just saw Georgia and Bama play each other, almost give up 40 points each. Is there a defense right now other than maybe Michigan or Tennessee that you feel great about walking into the playoff?
Not great. To David's point, I don't think a Big 12 team, will win a playoff game outside of maybe, the automatic qualifier. Who wins it gets a bye, and then the group of 5 team wins a game and then plays them. I don't see it right now. But again, that speaks to the Big 12 as a conference. But Colorado and BYU, I don't know how Kansas State, obviously, but Kansas State was the team that we thought, could do some things. Guys, Arizona did just beat Utah too. And don't forget, that Arizona loss to Kansas State, not a conference game. So keep that in your back pocket. I just don't trust Arizona, right? They're too inconsistent. They're a one-trick pony. It's a great trick with Fafita and McMillan, but the Big 12 is kind of down, David. Let's move on. We're going to get to the chat, I promise.
All right, let's talk about Notre Dame beating Louisville. I mean, Notre Dame has now beaten Texas A&M on the road. They've beaten Louisville at home, which this is why we need to talk about this, because this is a great win for them. But they lost to Northern Illinois. What do you make right now of where Notre Dame is here?
I mean, it's, again, when you look at, if you watch that game, and I know it was on Peacock or, Siegel or whatever the hell it was on, when you look at it and you go back and you watch, I went back and watched the condense of it. I mean, Riley Leonard, that's all Notre Dame has on offensive. Him and Love's a good back. We know the running game is good. But look at Riley Leonard. Obviously, he passed for 164 and 2 touchdowns. I think he led him in carries. Mm-hmm. How much longer can this go on? Like, I'm worried about Riley Leonard making it to the end of the year. Now, we can sit here and say, look, 11-1, Notre Dame gets in, even when lost to Northern Illinois. They get in. 10-2, because one of those two was to Northern Illinois, I don't think they'll get in, but we know the committee wants to put Notre Dame in. I think we may be running into a situation where what happens after last year when they didn't let Florida State in because of a quarterback injury, if Notre Dame gets to 10-2, but Riley Leonard gets hurt at the end of the year because they're having to run him so much. I don't think it's sustained. It's a great win over Louisville. The pass game did look better, didn't look great. Louisville's got a good defense. But they are maxing out Riley Leonard in the run game every single game, and we're in what, week 6? We're only going into week 6? I just don't know if it's sustainable with a guy that has an injury history in his past. I'm still worried about Notre Dame. It's a great win. Give them their flowers. It's great. You beat a Louisville team at home. That's awesome. But I'm telling you boys right now, there's a game on that schedule against Notre Dame that not a lot of people are talking about.
Let me guess. Navy.
Army.
Oh, they play Army too?
Yeah. They played this Army. And this Army team, I know Notre Dame's really good on defense.
They play both of them.
Yeah. I'm worried about Riley Leonard making it to the end of the year. That's what I'm worried about.
If you're 10-2 and losing Northern Illinois, you should get in the playoff.
I don't think you should either.
But you shouldn't get in the playoff.
I don't think they will.
You shouldn't get in the playoff. And on the Riley Leonard thing, I get it. You always want to protect your guy to a certain extent, but there's a reason we brought you here, right? You are the guy to us, right? You have to go out and win us games. I don't want you to get hurt, but I'm not going to sit here and play a game.
Well, I'm not saying they're wrong,
a game
Blake.
of not getting Riley.
Yeah.
Look, it's a risk-reward thing. It's a double-edged sword, and I know it. But there is a reason we brought you here, big dog. Whether that's want you to lead in carries, throw it better, whatever it is, take us to the promised land. Do what Sam Hartman couldn't.
Well,
that's why we brought you here.
And I agree with you. I'm not saying they're wrong, right? And now, since you lost to Northern Illinois, you got to be perfect. So you got to run them. Like, you have to do it. Your hand is forced. Now, if they beat Northern Illinois, would he have had as many carries? And I'm not talking about plays where a guy's not open, he takes off and runs. But true designed carries, right? I don't know. I actually don't think so. But now you're in a situation where you brought in a mercenary in Riley Leonard after bringing in Sam Hartman. So you got to run this one to the max. Sometimes you got to put the pedal to the floor and scream America. And that's what Notre Dame's doing with Riley Leonard right now, because it's their best shot to do it. But it's a nice win over Louisville, and you got to make sure and give them their flowers on that, Evan.
All right, we talked about Utah and Arizona, so I want to skip down to UNLV. UNLV with a 59-14 win over Fresno State, even worse than Michigan beat them earlier in the year. And I want to talk about this because obviously Matthew Sluka sitting out last week. It was a hectic week for UNLV. The backup quarterback, like we talked about last week, Hajj Malik Williams comes in, goes 13-16 for 182 through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 12 carries on the ground for 119 yards rushing with another touchdown.
To me, and people will disagree with this, and that's okay. Dissent moves us forward. And I went there in the room when any of these discussions with Sluka took place. But to me, this kind of answers the question of who was in the right and who was in the wrong. To me, it does. For this reason. Team doesn't rally around like that if they think their head coach is scum or a snake. They don't. Mm-hmm. They don't. And the first sign of trouble, they'd have checked out. Not only did they rally around, they went out and look, this Fresno team, like you said, took Michigan to the wire, man. Like, this is not a bad ball club, even though Jeff Tefford, had to retire because of health before. This tells me all I need to know about the UNLV situation. And I think this may have made this team more dangerous. Because now, you think they were playing with house money before? Dude, our quarterback quit on us. 4 games in. This speaks volume. If I'm one of these bigger places that's looking to hire a head coach after this, Barry Odom just went from the outhouse to the penthouse in my mind. Because I don't think if there was a snake move made by Barry Odom that you see the team get together and do this.
Right.
Regardless of how good your culture is, because that's a killer. It's like cheating on somebody. Like, you can have the best rapport built with your significant other, whatever, but at least I'm the type where if you cheat on me, I'm done with it. I'll never trust you again, which means we can't be together. This says a lot about the situation to me.
Lastly, here are some undefeated teams for you. I just wanted to give a shout out to Duke, Indiana, UNLV, BYU, Rutgers. Just a couple of the undefeated teams here after 5 weeks of college football.
I love it. It kind of feels like the first round of the NCAA playoffs when some teams win you didn't expect to go to the second round. It's awesome. And I'm going to tell you, Kirk Herbstreit, I want to give him some love here, and we liked Rutgers before the year, said that don't be surprised if Rutgers maybe sneaks in that playoff. And I'm not saying that I think they will. But this team with Schiano, they play their way. They can get you to play their way. It may not be the prettiest. It may not be you're not going to see it, but Manungai, the running back, if you hadn't seen this guy in Rutgers, he's the most underrated player in college football. And I still think Jonty from Boise State's underrated. That guy is insane. I think they're the top 2 running backs in the game, to me. So, yeah, look, BYU too. Army as well, I believe, is undefeated. I think Navy's undefeated as well. It's going to be fun coming down the stretch. That's for daggum sure. But let's get into some of these. Let's get to the chat real quick, actually.
Absolutely. God, I wish I had Rutgers winning 9 games. Oh, wait, I did. All right, let's go to Brooklyn Boy. What's up, man? He said Colorado was a plus 14.5 underdog. I bet Vegas won't do that again. Put some respect on my boy's name.
Well, if you go back, I want you to go back on our show. And I want you to watch when we had Tom Luganbill on and when we dropped our early bets. We were amazed at how high that number was. Not that we all picked Colorado to win the game, but how high that number was, the 14.5. I think it started like 16.5 or something like that. That was a really high number with the UCF team that, had a big win coming back against TCU, but Colorado can score. That was a high number.
All right, let's go to Troy with the $10 donation. Appreciate it, Troy. He said, hit level 38 today, gentlemen. My 2 oldest sons' football team won my Ducks. Niners won, and my fantasy team is up 50 going to their Monday night games. What's your thoughts on Oregon and this Dan Lanning squad? Appreciate the donation.
Yeah, starting to look a little bit like Oregon, right? Like we thought they were going to look. We've got to continue to see it. Just like Ohio State, I've got to, I know, and no disrespect to Oregon State, right? That's a decent opponent there, and you took them to the woodshed. But the jury's still out on Oregon to me, like the jury's still out on Ohio State. And guess what, fellas? They play each other. So we're going to find out a lot more. I know about Dylan Gabriel. I don't need to be convinced about him or Tez, right, or some of the guys they got running around on the outside. It's up front for Oregon. That's where I need to see that jump to say, all right, now we can go win a national championship because Dan Lanning's been building it that way.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced on Oregon, man.
I'm not fully. I'm not fully.
I don't know. Maybe because I had the TTP against UCLA and they didn't hit it, and I'm salty about it. It's a little personal.
Little purse.
Yeah, we'll find out soon enough.
All right, let's go to Glory88. What's up, man? He says the Irish are building. Every game was to improve. USC will be the biggest test, but can't sleep on Georgia Tech.
You can't sleep on anybody. Another loss probably disqualifies you. Unless there's just, then you got to root for day after tomorrow type chaos around, even though you're Notre Dame. Because of that Northern Illinois loss. Now, if you'd have lost to Texas A&M, that's a great way into that game, 10-2 may look different if you lose that game to USC. Maybe you could sneak in there. But you didn't. You lost to Northern Illinois, who's gone on to lose to Buffalo and NC State. Now, those two teams are different. Not trying to disrespect NC State there. So if you're Notre Dame, yeah, you've got to keep building. You just got to keep winning. You win out, and you're in with that Northern Illinois loss, as crazy as that sounds. You drop one more, I think you're out, outside of some cataclysmic scenario around college football. But speaking about Texas A&M, I'm so excited to dig in this game, David. Against
you want to go Texas A&M first?
Yeah, let's go ahead and move.
All right. I had the Georgia-Auburn game up, so hold on one second.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. We can start there if you want.
Texas A&M at Missouri. I'll pull up the lines in a second.
All right, we like to, we say win the water cooler here, right? We can sit here and be like, oh, well, Marcel Reed can run, and you look at obviously what Missouri has and Luther Burden. We can give you the obvious. I'm going to give you something that's a little bit under the radar here that not a lot of people are going to talk about. We look at conflicting styles, and everybody thinks it's about the pass game, right, or your defense isn't good. To me, the coolest matchup in this game is not at quarterback. It's in the run game. Texas A&M, defensively, they love getting in the backfield quickly. Most defensive lines do, but they get north very, very fast, and that can cause a lot of trouble. But Missouri loves that outside zone, right, zone scheme. Noel does a really good job of being able to read the cutback. I'll give you a hint. The zone was built to cut back. If you get north too much in this game, you can get gutted by this zone. You can get absolutely gutted. But if you're Texas A&M and Mike Elko, you don't want to take away the stinger from your guys on that defensive line because it can lead to some big disruption plays too, getting into the backfield so quickly, not worrying about getting trapped or kicked or anything like that. So who wins the battle of the aggressive Texas A&M, let's get vertical defensive line, versus the Missouri outside zone game that spreads you out and cuts you back and puts linebackers in tough positions? But when I look at A&M offensively, Mike Elko's hand has been forced, at least for now. You have to start Marcel Reed. You cannot put Connor Wegman back in the game. You are undefeated with Marcel Reed. You look like you're clicking. I know the Bowling Green game wasn't sexy. I know it wasn't some offensive renaissance against Arkansas this past weekend. But he gives you the best chance to move the ball because the playmakers around him aren't elite. You are making the defense have to defend you totally differently than they have to defend Connor Wegman. Not that Wegman's a paraplegic, I'm not saying that, but Marcel Reed makes that backside defensive end stay on the zone read. He makes a spy look at him in the pass game. He opens everything else for everybody. He makes the running back, makes it easier on them. There's less guys they have to worry about. He can run the ball up the middle and to the outside, but most importantly, he can create when the play breaks down better than Connor Wegman can, running and moving outside the pocket and throwing. Is he a perfect player? No. But if I'm a defensive coordinator, if I am Missouri, at least from what I've seen with Wegman coming back off the injury and him not trusting it, I would much rather face Connor Wegman than Marcel Reed right now because the kid's getting more confident and confident and confident by the day, and you have to defend more. Colin Klein can pull much more out of the bag, stuff that he was used to running when he was a quarterback at Kansas State, kind of parries over to Marcel Reed more than Connor Wegman. So whether it's looking at Marcel Reed at quarterback or will Luther Burden finally explode in the game offensively, David, this matchup is fascinating to me, and I cannot wait to watch it. And if Texas A&M wins this one, we've got to start talking about, hey, this team can have a chance to make it to Atlanta.
Some pros and cons for both teams here. Obviously, Texas A&M going to be at home, right? And then Missouri didn't look that great against Vanderbilt. But for the Missouri side, they can say, hey, Vanderbilt's a better team than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Beat Virginia Tech, who just took Miami down to the wire, but also they had a bye week in between. So Missouri had time to get ready for this game, and they can say Texas A&M is favored right now. Texas A&M is favored by 2 points. I think Coach Drinkowitz can use that and say, do you see, we're not going to get any respect ever from this conference. We're always going to be an afterthought. All we can do is go out there and win football games. So to your point, if Texas A&M wins and gets a lot of momentum rolling, Missouri the same way. This is their first road game this season. They're 4-0 so far at home. If you go on the road and beat Texas A&M, now all of a sudden you get your momentum and you're going to be the team that we thought Missouri could be heading into this year.
Yeah, and Blaine, I'm going to pose two things to you. This Missouri team before the season, when we looked at the tiers of the SEC, we said, all right, we feel like we know who is in tier 1, right? You look at the Georgias, you look at Alabama, you look at Texas, you look at Ole Miss, who's now dropped down, I think, to the top of tier 2. But who were those preseason top of tier 2 teams that could make a step forward? Tennessee was on that list. I put them in tier 1 right now. LSU was on that list. I leave them where they're at. A&M was on that list. I leave them where they're at. You look at Missouri. They're on that top of tier 2. Can they recreate what they did last year and take that next step, similar to what we were hoping to see from Ole Miss? If they go win this game, all right, regardless of how it looks, do you put Missouri into the tier 1 of the SEC? Do you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I agree with that.
I think last year gave Missouri the opportunity to sit at the big boy table this year. And they have to learn how to handle that. Even walking this game with A&M being favored, doesn't it feel like A&M's an underdog in this football game?
It does.
Doesn't it feel like that? And I'm sure Mike Elko is preaching that to his guys no matter what the line is. The big thing I look at in this game, one, how Luther Burns is not leading receiving yards for Missouri is beyond me. I don't even know how that happens.
I don't care if he's doubled.
Just throw it. Marcel Reed, 6 touchdowns. How many turnovers? 0.
And how many losses?
0. 0 losses as well. And look, you hold Taylor Green to 13 yards rushing. And look, I know Brady Cook is not the most elusive guy, but Brady Cook is a timely runner. He knows when to take off. You go back to kind of like Stetson last year. He'll find a way on 3rd and 7 to somehow scoot out and get a first down. The big thing I'm looking at, Jake, you brought this up. How do you handle Luther Burden Jr. if you are Texas A&M? Do you double him? And how good can you be in the run game? Because look, Drink wants to run the ball and Elko wants to run the ball. Who can limit turnovers and who can get to the red zone and get 7 points? You have to score touchdowns in this game to win. The over-under is at 48.5. I like the over in this game. I think some points will get scored, but it's tough. I'm not going to pick a winner right now, but the Brady Cook-Marcel Reed matchup, man, I cannot wait.
And they're in two different spots. I want to, last thing before we move on to Georgia and Auburn, I want to throw this out there. What teams have given the Missouri defense the most trouble so far? Boston College.
Running quarterbacks.
And Vanderbilt. What do both of those offenses have in common? A quarterback that can run. I'm really interested to see the way that Missouri's front 7 and especially the linebackers are able to tackle in space in this game. And do not think for a second that Mike Elko, with Connor Wegman hanging back in the wings, getting healthier and healthier, is afraid to run Marcel Reed. They're going to run him as much as they need to. And obviously in the pass game, can he beat Missouri to the edge, and can Missouri keep contain on this guy? Because if you don't keep contain on him, they're going to contain a W.
All right, next up, Georgia hosting Auburn. That line opened at minus 27 Georgia. Now it's minus 24. Over-unders 53.5. Seems like a lot of points, boys.
It does. And, we can sit here and there'll be people that say, well, this is the game where Auburn, plays Georgia tight because nobody's looking, and Auburn hadn't been that good. Coming off that Alabama game, this feels like lambs going to the slaughter, is what it feels like to me. And you can be a fan of Auburn. We're just going to tell you straight up. Here's my thing with Auburn. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even smart enough to play one on TV. But I think I have a diagnosis for Auburn's program right now.
What is it?
There is an illness in the program. It's pseudo-dysphagia, the fear of choking. And I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm serious. There is a sickness in this Auburn team right now because it's not just one person. They find ways to lose games. Hugh Freeze even said it. I think there is a fear of the moment on that team. Please don't let me have the ball in my hands to win the game. Please don't let me have to make a kick to win the game. Please, don't be 3rd and 18 and we have to get a stop because we'll rough the passer or get beat deep dropping 8. And Auburn's defense played really good against Oklahoma. Really good. You got beat one time in man coverage. I didn't like kind of the way that Durkin did it at the end. But that game was not on Auburn's defense. Losers find a way to lose. Winners find a way to win. Auburn, Oklahoma is a great example of that. Oklahoma did not play well in that game, on offense or defense. That's one of the worst defensive performances I've seen Oklahoma have. I was actually shocked to see it. And you got to give credit to Peyton Thorne and Auburn's offense for moving the ball. But what did they do when they had to have it? Who made the plays? Oklahoma did. You can sit here and Hugh Freeze, I think, is going to get this turned around. But the only way I know to fix that, right, because it's a problem, you got to admit it. I mean, you can sit here and say whatever, you got to admit it, is that you need the young guys to become the leaders. Because whatever it is, the old guys aren't getting it done. And I'm not saying it's all their fault, but this is a culture problem. This is a fear of the moment problem. And it's not everybody. I don't think Eugene Asante is afraid of the moment. I think there's some that aren't afraid of it. But there's too many guys that are in important positions. And I put out a tweet in being sarcastic, saying when Peyton Thorne threw that pick 6, that I almost think that Peyton Thorne's a plant by Auburn or Georgia. Because I've never seen somebody blow a game in many different ways on purpose. Like, I've never seen it. And somebody replied, Jake, Peyton Thorne played his best game in his Auburn career. How could you say that? You know what my answer was? Exactly. You just answered it. The best game of your career, you threw a pick 6 to lose the game. And you lost the game. The best game of your career, you threw a pick 6 to lose a game. Not only that, and Hugh Freeze shouldn't have called those RPOs. And his time management was horrible. The coaching has not been good. And you can't be under-personneled and poorly coached. You can't be that way. But you got the ball. You're up 21-10 with 10 minutes to go in the game, 8 minutes to go in the game, whatever. And you call in 2 RPOs. And this was a double screw-up. The fact, number one, that you have a quarterback that's a fifth-year senior that doesn't have the awareness to know, hey, I need to hand this off or keep it and run it in that situation, and didn't do it and threw it twice and got 2 incompletions, that's a fireable offense right there to the quarterback, to me. Calling that play was dumb. You should have just called 2 run plays. So it was a double screw-up. But Auburn is to the point now where everybody is choking. Whether it's time management, game management, clock management, the coaches are choking. Whether it's special teams this game, or the offense the other one, or the defense on the next. That's where they're at right now, and this Georgia team is going to murder them. They're going to. Because if you think it was bad, you're not catching Georgia coming off a dominant performance over Alabama riding high. And Peyton should have thrown 3. So it's not all on Peyton Thorne. I'm not saying that, but I don't think you throw a freshman out there against Georgia on the road and just throw red meat out there and let the Lions go rip it apart. You're in a hard place because you didn't get a quarterback out of the portal, and this is just where you're at. So I can sit here and tell you all these things about schematically what Georgia should do or whatever. I'll say what I said on Locked On Auburn with my buddy Zach Blacker before the Oklahoma game. I cannot pick Auburn to win any game because they continue to choke at an incredible level. And you can sit here and say that and still believe in Hugh Freeze. The Auburn fans are like, don't say anything negative about Auburn. Don't ever say anything negative about Auburn. That's like never getting your child in trouble or punishing your child when they screw up. They're going to be ruined when they grow up. You can be critical and still understand that this is a long-term process, but you fired most of the coaches on your coaching staff and replaced them and said, we're going to coach better, we're going to be smarter, and you're not doing it. Everybody is choking in that program, and it's tough.
Blaine, pseudodysphagia. What's the cure for that? And also, we didn't give Kentucky any chance to beat Ole Miss. They did. We didn't really give Arizona any chance to beat Utah. They did. What does it take for Auburn to beat Georgia when everyone's counting them out?
Carson Beck has to lose the game for Georgia. I think he has to throw multiple interceptions, multiple pick sixes, to be honest.
Even then, Auburn would find a way to lose it. You think I'm kidding?
No, I don't think you're kidding. Trust me, I watch it every Saturday. I get it. I picked Auburn to win last weekend and watched them fall apart. I don't know how anybody's surprised by this. It's not surprising to me. I've seen it from Peyton Thorne his entire career. At the end of the day, it's on Hugh Freeze for not getting a quarterback. You've done everything wrong the entire year. Basically, you have a good win against New Mexico. But there's one thing that can fix it. One thing that could just fix everybody's problems at Auburn.
You win this game?
If you somehow beat Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's it. If you can somehow, and look, all right, Auburn's not a great football team. There are some good things. I think you can see that as an Auburn fan, but you miss on the quarterback position. That's a position you can't miss unless you're extremely talented at every other position, which Auburn is not. But you saw some weaknesses against Georgia.
Yeah.
Right? You saw that on defense from a lining up standpoint, from a pre-snap standpoint, from tackling in space. They don't look like the Georgia team we're used to seeing. So Georgia is now what? They're gettable. All right? They are a gettable football team. But at the end of the day, Auburn has proved nothing to anybody that they can go nut up in a big game and at the end of a game and make the right play with the right players. So am I going to sit here and just bash Auburn? No, I'm not. I don't think I've said my piece and I've said enough. You have to move on. If Peyton Thorne is that guy, you have to go with him. He's not going to magically become better, but just maybe if you're Hugh Freeze, maybe you can just hit his head and learn to speak Chinese and be really good at math in one game, he can pull through. I don't see this happening, but you never know.
And the last point I want to make, you look at the numbers, and Auburn's got pretty good numbers offensively outside of the most devastating thing you can do.
Turnovers.
Is turnovers. They're scoring. They're doing a pretty decent job in the red zone. But none of that matters if you make catastrophic plays at the end of the game to lose it. None of that matters. David, you say all the time, college football is a zero-sum game. There's a winner and there is a loser. All that other stuff, it's like a NASCAR driver. I'll use this example again. That leads for like Peyton Thorne, played really good outside of a couple plays. He threw the same interception twice the first time the guy didn't catch it in the red zone. They baited him in the same thing twice. If you really know what you're looking at, you understand how bad of a mistake that is. But it's like a NASCAR driver that leads the race the whole time. And he's doing great. And he maybe didn't do great before, but it looks like he's turned it around. And on that last lap when he's leading, he doesn't get bumped. Nothing happens to the car. He just drives it into the wall and doesn't finish. That's exactly what's happened. So you can there's some positives to get there. And I'm with Blaine. I'm just telling you the truth. Like, there's some good stuff that Auburn has done. But when you don't win, none of that matters. You think Oklahoma would trade having the numbers that Auburn had offensively and for the loss? Like, if we're to the point where it's like, all right, well, we got a lot of yards. Man, we did really good getting a lot of yards. You remember that one play we got a lot of yards, but we lost the game? That is an awful mentality. And Hugh Freeze is going to get it right. He needs time to continue to build it. But he'll tell you the coaching staff's got to be better. That the special teams have been awful.
You better win 9 games next year.
That's another thing.
You better win 9 games next year or win 8 and beat somebody.
You go 4-8 this year, next year it better have a 9 in front of it. Or if it's 8, damn it better be the right 8. Like, that's where the pressure really is, if we're going to be honest.
Yep.
So, all right. You ready to get to the phone lines here, David? What do you think?
You tell me when.
Let's go.
All right, let's go to Jake in Florida. Jake, what's going on?
Guys, how about that game Saturday?
Incredible.
Dude.
Incredible.
Electric. I haven't seen Tuscaloosa like that in a long time.
Industry was wild.
But I tell you what, I'm really frustrated with the media's reaction after the game, because I feel like regardless of how the game played out, Kirby Smart should be taking way much more heat than he is currently, because this was supposed to be a win. This was his chance This was his chance to show this is his SEC. He's the king. He sits on the throne, and he blew it. I don't care that they came back to win the game. He blew it. He got sucker punched in the mouth. How do you not have your team prepared out of the gate?
Well, Jake, number one, I think they were prepared. I think Bama was just better. I mean, they started to move up in coverage a little bit in the second half, and I think that helped them. I think Alabama was just pushing them around. I mean, mentally, I think they were ready. I don't question Kirby's ability to get his team ready to play. I think whenever you're Kirby Smart and you're at Georgia and you've had the success you have, when you lose, there should be heat. And if that game would have continued the way it went, you would see that heat on him right now. If it was 56-14, you would see that heat. But I think it actually speaks more about Kirby Smart that team was able to come back and take the lead than it does about them getting bullied at the beginning. What I think you saw was two really good teams that are really well coached. One came out and dominated. The other one found a way to scrap back, going up tempo, going for it on fourth downs. But then Alabama found a way to win the game. If it was a blowout, I think he'd be catching more heat.
Hey, Jake. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the opposite. I don't think you can be that much better than the team, go up 28, and then barely win the game in the fourth quarter. I think Georgia and Kirby Smart came out scared. I think Carson Beck looked afraid in the pocket in that first half. There's no reason. Georgia is too athletic and has too many good players to come out here and look that bad against a football team after a bye week for a half, and then the next half look like absolute world beaters. You don't have a freshman at quarterback. These aren't a bunch of young guys running around. You're Kirby Smart. You've won a national championship. You know how to prepare guys for this football game to be ready when it happens. So to me, I agree with what you. I don't think Kirby Smart should be fired or there should be heat on him. He's a national championship coach. You see what he does. But he does need to answer questions on why his team was so unprepared walking into this football game.
Right, because it's not like this is only game 4 in the DeBoer era. Milroe's only been in this system for 4 games. And he just –
Yeah, but
I mean, as an Alabama fan –
Go ahead.
I mean, as an Alabama fan, I'm super optimistic because – I mean, he's only going to get better. The team is only going to get better. And if you were going to catch Alabama during the season, this past Saturday was when you were going to catch them, in my opinion. And you just came out unprepared, to me. Yeah.
Well, Jake, appreciate you calling, buddy. Glad you had a good time up there. I will say this: I'm not going to sit here and act like Kalen DeBoer brought Jalen Milroe with him. Kalen DeBoer is very fortunate that Jalen Milroe stayed at Alabama. So we can't act like, this is only game 4 and Jalen Milroe still doesn't know what he's doing. No, Jalen Milroe's an older guy. He's been through the battles. So I give Kalen DeBoer credit for seeing him progress. Mm-hmm. I think you can do that, but I don't think you sit here and say, Kalen DeBoer's only had him for 4 games. That ain't how this one works. Kalen DeBoer's, I'm going to know when Kalen DeBoer brings in his own guy and his own guys start getting in there at a little bit higher rate. That's when I think you can cement it because, a lot of guys on that roster that stayed were still Saban's guys. So you still got to coach them. You still got to win the game. But let's not act like Milroe was somebody, a freshman that Washington brought over to play in this game.
I think you got to give Coach DeBoer credit for tailoring the offense around what his skill set is. I mean, think about who Kalen DeBoer's quarterback was a year ago, Michael Penix Jr. They were throwing it 50 times a game. You weren't seeing any of this quarterback run game. They're tailoring the right system around the guys who he did inherit. But, Jake, we appreciate it.
Great call, man.
Awesome game. Call in next week, man. All right, let's go to Jackson in Austin, Texas. Jackson, what's up?
Hey, guys. Huge fan of the show. Been listening for a little bit now.
Appreciate it.
I'm a little bit frustrated, I think. I'm a big South Carolina Gamecocks fan. I'm a little bit frustrated at how our win over Kentucky has been cast after the Ole Miss win. And I feel like we're kind of just designated as a bad team. And even when we have these checkpoints and these moments where we kind of show up and prove otherwise, it's, Kentucky wasn't any good. Well, Kentucky plays Georgia close. Well, they play them close every year, and then they go beat Ole Miss, and it's like, Kentucky actually is good. Imagine if they play South Carolina next week.
Mm-hmm.
What does South Carolina or a team like that have to really do to show that they're any good on any given week?
Y'all got to beat somebody. That's the thing. Like beating Kentucky is one thing, and then Kentucky. The reason Kentucky's getting all this praise now is because they went on the road and beat Ole Miss, right? So you can look back and what's the outlier game for Kentucky? Well, it's South Carolina. South Carolina should get credit for that. But I don't think we should act like Kentucky's Georgia or Bama or somebody like that yet. What South Carolina needs to do is go beat Ole Miss. You go beat Ole Miss, then we'll come on here and say, guys, Now, look, South Carolina lost a very controversial game to LSU when your quarterback got hurt, right? But you beat Kentucky, and now you just beat Ole Miss, who Kentucky beat. Then you'll start getting the credit. Like, you've got to win that big one, right? Because the rest of it is just kind of fruit salad, I guess is the best way to put it. South Carolina can take a huge step this weekend. You beat Ole Miss, then we can start saying, all right, guys.
I guess that's a good way to put it. You can't beat a team who then goes on and wins a big game. You have to win the big game.
You have to win
and guess what? You get that this Saturday. There's no more transitive property about Kentucky and Ole Miss. You get them at home.
Not only this Saturday, but really the next 4 weeks.
So what is it? The next
you have Ole Miss at home, then surprise, surprise, you go on the road in Tuscaloosa, then you go to Oklahoma, and then have Texas A&M at home.
Yeah, you're going to have your
win a couple of those and see what happens.
Yeah, you're getting.
And I think y'all are good enough to. Y'all's defense, y'all got some talent on that defense. Lenore's just got to stay healthy, man.
Yeah, and Jackson, we're breaking that game down tomorrow. We're going to do a whole preview on it, so make sure you tune in tomorrow, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped to hear about that. Yeah, I mean, the one thing for me that I think I keep, and maybe it's just we're not adjusting the transfer portal. I just think that we don't put enough teams in the conversation as being potentially good at this stage, because teams and rosters are flipping around, and we're casting 5-7 South Carolina from last year. They lost a couple players. Don't pay as much attention to what gets added, and then you go look at the Noles, who get crowned, preseason playoff contenders, and look what's happening there.
Not here.
Vanderbilt gets written off as.
Yeah.
I know, but this is more of a national landscape thing than general frustration. But just wanted to hear y'all's thoughts on it, because I do think the landscape has changed so much with this roster turnover and the ability to add and move pieces around that we're still kind of, a lot of people at least, not you guys as much as which is, I'm a huge fan of y'all, it still keeps getting applied to this.
Yeah, and I think, Jackson, a little bit of it was we hadn't seen Lenoris yet. Like, we just didn't.
Yeah,
we hadn't seen him yet. So, and he's a young guy. Said the same thing about Jackson Arnold, and look the way it went for Jackson Arnold, right? So it could go one of two ways, but Lenoris, and I will say, we did believe in him. We talked about him a lot. I like him better with the glasses on, but that's just
also
me.
One quick comment, Jackson. A lot of that too is trust factor, right? Like, I mean, take for example, Jake picked SMU to play in the ACC championship game. That's a huge risk, right, to do that, because if that then doesn't happen or SMU looks bad throughout the season, then it's easier to attack Jake for that than if he picks Florida State to be really good and then they're not.
1-5.
So some of those guys in the national level that you're talking about, or ESPN or College Game Day or whatever, like the risk just continues to go up. Whereas I feel like we just try and call them the best we can.
Yeah, and we'll be the first person to tell you if we're wrong.
Appreciate it, man.
Great call,
Thanks,
man. Jackson.
All right, let's go to Caleb in Indiana. Caleb, what's going on?
Hey, guys. It was a great weekend here. Indianapolis Colts picked up a big win, but far more importantly, Kentucky Wildcats went down to Mississippi and picked up a huge win, so that was a lot of fun.
Man, I tell you, it's Stoops. Man, he always does this.
How about that?
What a weekend
just when you think
what a
like you're like
Indy. Mark Stoops and Joe Flacco.
That's exactly
Come
right.
on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much of it you saw, but I mean, that on 4th and 7 on your own 20 to send Barry and Brown on a go route down there. And I mean,
dude, I watched the whole game. I put out a parlay that everybody hit except Ole Miss. It was a 12-teamer. Everyone hit except Ole Miss. So I was watching that game like a fat kid at a croissant
But
factory.
it was one of the first ones in your parlay, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, no, I hit Miami and Rutgers. Miami, thank God. But the rest of them were playing out in real time. Boston College came back and won without Castellanos.
See, I had a 9-legger. I had a 9-legger, but Ole Miss was the first one in there. So
there's nothing funnier than the team who fakes a bunch of injuries and loses.
Yeah, we got it. That's bad,
so
man.
Yeah.
That was bad.
I'm sick of it, dude.
So satisfying.
I'm to the point where I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
It's so blatant. Something needs to change.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how Ole Miss responds.
Definitely.
See how they bounce back.
Appreciate it, Kyle.
Thanks, Caleb.
Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go to Matthew in Arkansas. Matthew, what's up?
What is up, boys? It is the Heartbroken Hog here, feeling like I watched the same freaking movie every year.
Dude, y'all literally play the same game every single year. Like, it's like a time loop.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the last episode of Rings of Power I watched when he's looking at the mouse. Just like every year, it's the same game.
And it's unbelievable. I mean, you win the time of possession, more first downs, more total yards, but what kills you again? 3 turnovers to nothing. Plus that, did you guys see that ridiculous fake field goal out of
Yeah,
the
you say
timeout.
that, but I'm
what
sure
were
you were cheering when the fake punt worked. That's the thing.
Hey,
it always
that
looks
was
stupid when it doesn't work.
That was a read by the punter.
Oh, believe me,
That
I
was a
know.
read by the punter.
I literally ran that. We called it yellow rugby, and there's a read built in. I don't know why every team doesn't do it, but no. Look, say what you want. Sam ain't afraid.
But I feel like that's a you fool me once, fool me twice situation. I mean, do you really think you're going to get it over on Mike Elko a second time?
Well, who thinks you're going to run two fakes?
Yeah.
Like, I actually think it was the perfect time to do it. Like, you run one fake, you think, all right, there it is.
And people don't realize, but lightning does strike in the same place twice. Like, that's a real thing.
How in trouble is Sam Pittman after they lose to Tennessee this weekend?
He is very in trouble. I think our only real opportunity left at a bowl game is LSU coming off the bye. Pittman is undefeated somehow coming off a bye week, so he's got that going for him. But I think we lose to LSU. It's probably going to be 5-7, and Sam's gone.
Yep, and then Bobby P.
Bobby.
Step right up, Bobby P.
It was it, Bobby P. I mean, you scored 17 last week. Is that enough? Is the offense just out here balling enough for you just to put Bobby Petrino at head coach?
No one asked for the statistics.
Yeah,
okay.
Actually, you did.
Yeah.
What's really hard to take about that loss, though, is that I know if we played them again, we win that game.
Nine times out of 10.
Yeah, boy.
9 out of 10. Well done, Matthew. Well done, buddy.
Appreciate
Great call.
it. Great
Have a
call.
good one, y'all.
All right. Oh, yeah, good. All right,
I'm
we'll see
pretty,
you there.
just an update real quick. I'm pretty sure the Braves lost.
Game one?
Braves lost. Well, it's live right now.
Hold on.
It's 8-7. Braves just lost.
Oh, my God.
They lost?
I tell you what.
Got to win game two.
Hit that sound, baby.
Can't hurt me.
I got a sound for you. Hold on.
Can't hurt me.
Got to win game two.
3-0 going into the 8th? What happened?
Keep us posted on game two over there as it starts. All right, let's go to Brett in Bakersfield, California. What's up, man?
Bakersfield. That's where Superman's from.
Yo, Brett.
Hello?
Superman from there?
What's up, man?
What's up, Brett?
How's it going? Do you guys think USC can still make the playoffs if they are they go undefeated from here on out and lose the conference championship? Do they still get in?
I think they get in because that means you beat Notre Dame.
You guys, yeah, I think they beat Notre Dame, and I think they have a shot to beat a team like a Tennessee in the first round if they can play their second half the whole game how they play their second half. It would be a great team.
Well, you wouldn't only beat Notre Dame; you'd also beat Penn State.
You'd beat Penn State. Oh, you're for sure in.
And do they play Penn State at USC?
Yeah, you're
so they
for
play
sure
USC.
in.
They play Notre Dame and Penn State at home.
But also, even if you lose,
yeah, what if they lose?
Well, here's the thing. Well, if you lose, if you go 10-2 and you don't make the conference championship, the Big 12 being down helps you guys more than just about anybody.
Yeah. Not only Penn State, you would also probably, by the time you play them, you'd beat a ranked Rutgers team.
Yeah.
Nebraska at home. But even off a loss, Nebraska could be ranked. So if USC runs the table,
all right. So let's say they lose to Penn State, or really any one of those. But let's say they lose to Penn State. So that gives you 2 losses because you lost to Michigan. But you win against Notre Dame, and you don't make the conference championship. So you're 10-2, and the last thing in the committee's mind is you just beat Notre Dame.
You're in.
Yeah,
I think you're in.
Yeah,
unless it comes.
I think a lot what's the loss look like against Penn State? Is it close? Is it a touchdown, field goal? If you get rolled by Penn State, I think that might have a factor into it.
What do you say, Brett?
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
I agree. I think we could beat Ohio State though too. Again, if we just play consistent defense.
If Miller Moss doesn't turn the ball over and you guys can just hold up defensively, you're going to have a chance in every game that you play.
All right. Well, you guys have a good day. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
Great call.
Man. See you, buddy. All right, let's go to Will in New Jersey. Will, what's up?
What's up, boys?
What up?
All right. So, I don't know if I haven't been watching the show today because I'm on the road, but game 1 just ended. So I just wanted to formally wish the Braves good luck in game 2. Let's both get in and let's knock out those guys.
Can y'all just forfeit game 2?
Immediately calls in, right?
Y'all just forfeit game 2. For real, though.
Oh.
Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Screw the Diamondbacks. Let's come together.
Hold on, I got it right.
Right?
This is the energy for game 2. Now we need it. After 162 games, backs against the wall.
We're just sitting back over here.
Oh, yeah. The Yankees do great in the playoffs. You guys should feel real good.
I feel great.
Y'all are going to do great.
I feel great. I feel great
Y'all are
about
gonna
it.
do
Other
great.
than them just absolutely CNNing me, so they're not going to win at all. I know that.
No,
but at least
after
we
what
can
they
sit here
did to you.
comfortable. I think this all boils down to Jake going to a Reds game and buying a bunch of Red stuff and coming back and wearing it. It's like tainted. It's like the guy from Florida State who didn't eat dog poop.
That's
right. That's why you
like
can't win
that.
a game. And you
That's
get hit by a
nothing.
Kansas State made good on his
He
bet.
did. And look what happened. Big dub.
Yeah.
Big dub.
There's a method to the madness, buddy. You
And he said the wife found out I'm in trouble.
Cooked. He said he's cooked. He's cooked.
Oh, sorry you got roped in on that, Will, but that's what you get for calling in talking about the Braves.
All good.
All right, buddy.
All good. See you, bud. Drive safe.
Thanks, man. See ya. All right, let's go to Cameron in Florida. Cameron, what's up?
Hey, guys.
What up?
So you told me last week to call in and tell you about my Georgia Alabama watch party.
Oh,
yeah. How'd it go?
He was the only Georgia guy. Oh. Cameron, I feel like are you being kidnapped right now? You're so quiet. Are you just having to hide the phone?
No. So, it's pretty good. I mean, until, at the end was pretty good. But the first half was fucking horrible.
Dude, how was the vibe? So just explain to me, though, Georgia, all right, obviously y'all are getting murdered. Everybody's probably being nice to you because they think you're going to get murdered, right? Either that or they're just absolutely clowning you. I don't know how your friends act. I know how mine do. But when you guys scored that touchdown to go ahead, set the scene for me.
They said rigged. They said we paying the refs.
Said you were paying the refs.
Yeah, you were at an Alabama watch party.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Good for you, though, man.
Yeah,
good for you.
Did you wear all your Georgia stuff?
I did.
That a boy.
Yeah, you keep doing it.
It could have been an all-timer. It could have been an all-timer at the end.
Appreciate it, Cameron.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, let's try and get to everyone. We got a couple more minutes. Let's go rapid fire here as quick as we can. Robert in Florida. What's going on, Robert?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Can you hear me?
What's up, Rob?
Awesome, great. So I've been trying to call in for about 2 weeks. I missed all of last college football season. I was on a deployment in the Mediterranean with the Navy.
Oh, man, thank you for your service.
Thanks for your service, brother.
Thank you. So I only caught up with football last year by reading a PDF of the sports section in the newspaper that was emailed.
Wow, that's
so I tuned in this year. Yeah, Virginia Tech doing pretty bad. Brent Pry in his third season as head coach, 12-17, only 5 wins against teams with winning records, -4 turnover ratio. This year he's at a +1, 1-10 in one-score games. Been in the mid-40s recruiting, but this year he did return 86% of production from ESPN's Bill Connolly, 16 sacks, 20 tackles for loss this season. Do you think Virginia Tech can turn their season around by only firing the offensive coordinator, or do we need a whole new coaching staff?
Well, first off, Robert, it's a great question. You know, Virginia Tech, I believe, won their last 5 games last year and had a ton of momentum coming into the year because of that returning production that Robert was just talking about. And Kyron Drones, you felt like, hey, this guy has the potential to be really, really dangerous in what they want to do. But what has shocked me, and Virginia Tech played well against Miami, but you still lost the game. I say the same thing about Auburn. You can play well. If you lose, it's a zero-sum game. You lost the game. Typically what happens in this situation, I can't remember if Pry has fired a coordinator before, right? But the coordinator goes first, and then the head coach goes after them. Like we just saw what happened with Graham Harrell getting fired as offensive coordinator. But what shocks me the most isn't that offensively you guys have been up and down. It's that y'all can't stop the run. That's with Brent Pry. That's what shocks me the most. So at this point, could firing the offensive coordinator help? I mean, it could. I think the way it's looking for the rest of the season, I don't think Brent Pry will be the head coach at Virginia Tech going into next year. I hate to say that, but I don't think so, Robert.
Appreciate it, Robert. Thanks
Appreciate
for calling,
it, Rob.
man.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, let's keep going. Let's go to Chris in Michigan. Chris, what's going on?
All right, guys, I'll be quick. I'm going to start off first. Watch the tape, okay? Minnesota touched the ball first before it got to the 10-yard line, and they were blocking Michigan before it got to the 10-yard line. So regardless, if you look at a dumb angle of the offsides, there's 3 penalties right there. That ball was coming back. So, 2, shouldn't have been that gritty of a win, but David, you said it right. When the team's one-dimensional, it's going to be a dogfight the whole year. So that's just how it is. And
win's a win.
Last thing, win's a win, exactly. Last thing is that it's like, to me, it's like what you just said, Jake. It comes down to the coordinators. The coordinators, it's like they plug in a running quarterback, and they still want him throwing the ball way too often. Have him run. Why don't we have Mullings, Edwards, and Orgy in the backfield? Triple option. Just do something. You know, it's like, why is he still throwing it all the way down the field like that? I get that we're up and stuff. You want him to have a deep shot, but he's clear. Like, keep doing those checkdowns. We have Colston Loveland for a reason.
Well,
you know?
to me, Chris, to me, like Michigan getting up. No, you're good. Michigan getting ahead like that should be perfect for Michigan.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to run it out. Like, it's a death sentence for the other team. You don't start saying, guys, hey, we're up. Let's just put something on tape down the field. That's not who this team is. They're never going to be that.
One-dimensional team.
Yeah.
You can't take the
they fell for the trap.
We're up.
They fell in the trap, slide down there and eat them.
Run the clock. Oh, my gosh.
Agreed, Chris.
Appreciate it, Chris. I will say the product I saw with my eyes in Ann Arbor when they played Texas was a 7-5 product. Here they go. They're sitting at 4-1 right now. Got to make better halftime adjustments, but trending in the right direction.
I like them against
Washington. So I'm proud of them to bounce back and to solve some of the problems that they needed to solve there in order to win these football games. So thanks for calling in, man. We appreciate it. We're going to do a big breakdown on the Washington game this week. Let's go to Hunter in Florida. Hunter, we only have a few seconds here. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys, took a beating this past weekend. You think I can bounce back by hammering Clemson? How the heck are they only 2 touchdown favorites over Florida State? It sounds like they're going to win by 40.
And that game is at FSU?
Yeah.
I don't think it mattered if they played in Dabo Swinney's backyard or in Mike Norvell's, front yard. Did you see where they said
play?
Yeah,
that's what should worry you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, maybe that's why the spread is what it is.
No, that's to say that it's DJU or Brock Glenn is going to start this game at quarterback for Florida State. But look, Florida State's got many problems. Clemson right now is hotter than Hansel at the Male Model Awards. I think that spread's just going to do this.
Yeah.
It's just going to go
either
up.
that or take my advice, which I didn't because I'm stupid. Just bet against Kent State.
Yeah, bet against Kent State.
It's a walking win every weekend.
It's flawless.
Won by 20.
It's flawless.
Appreciate it, Hunter. Anyone else on the line, please call in tomorrow. We'll get to you.
Yes. All right. Quickly, though, as I walk to the betting board of friendship, fun, and other stuff. Are you struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns?
Big back,
big back taxes. Tax Network USA can be the team that comes to your aid, right, and helps you win offense, defense, and special teams. First thing they do is when you sign up, they get a protection order. All right, that means that collection activities such as garnishments, levies, property seizures, all that gets halted. If you hadn't filed in a while, you need amended returns, you're missing records, they go in there and they find it, all right? They get you where you need to go. And then they evaluate your financials and create a settlement and a plan to help get you out of tax debt, putting it behind you for good. And for a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-956-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/booster. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/booster today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Take advantage of them because they're the worst. Trust me, with Tax Network USA. All right, let's get to bets here. Tonight,
Bets.
Lions and Titans and Bears. Oh my, Lions, -3, -142. I believe in it. Then I'm taking the Titans +3.5. Why would I pick the Dolphins? People would say, oh, Jake, why would you pick the Titans? Well, Will Levis will probably find a way to screw it up, but the Dolphins just signed the quarterback that's playing this week in practice, and his name's not Josh Dobbs. So I feel good about it. Give me the Titans +3.5. Don't think you'd be crazy to get them on the money line, David.
All right, Lions and Seahawks. I'm going to take the under 47. That's -110. Love what Mike McDonald's been doing with that Seattle defense so far this year. Then I'm going to take the largest lead, under 14.5, -108.
All right, put my bets up. I'm going to take Mets money line. Oh, wait, dang, I can't bet that. That's already happened. My bad. I'm going to go with
take game 2. Take game 2.
I will.
Take Mets game 2 then.
I will. Tomorrow. Do they play today?
Yeah, right now. They should
change mine to Mets money line. Let's go. Put it up right now. I'll find the odds.
I'll get the odds for you.
Good, thank you. Then I'm going to take Seahawks +4.5, -115. That's a lot of points, even if you're going on the road at Detroit.
Ace, what do we got? Seahawks +4, -108. He's going to take the under. Probably a smart bet And the Titans-Dolphins game at 37. That's -1.
Game 2, Mets plus 350.
Woo, baby, 3-1. Come on.
I hope not. Please, no.
All right, if you donated today, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Okay, let me get to these. Bang, bang, bang. Start off with a $5 donation from Cerberus. Thank you, sir. The Alabama versus Georgia game was close as hell. Always going to make merrier cousin jokes about Alabama, though, LOL. Also, pit bulls are the best dog breed.
Yeah, amen. Shout out Penny Lane.
Let's go to a $5 donation from the Crain Co memes. What's up? Glad to see Bama back on top. Milroe has 22 touchdowns, and the Heisman is his to lose now.
I agree with that.
Can't wait for the tailgate this weekend.
Dude, Crain & Co. memes crushes it. Online?
On Instagram,
Yeah,
too.
on Instagram.
Nice.
$5 donation from the Prankster Boy. He said, good afternoon, fellas. Have you heard about the unfortunate passing of the NBA great Dikembe Mutombo?
Yeah, I didn't even know he was sick.
Dikembe Mutombo died of cancer, and also we lost Chris Christopherson, the great songwriter.
Yep. $5 donation from David's favorite Badger. Milroe is looking for like the Heisman frontrunner right now. He even made a depressing Wisconsin fans jump up around a few weeks ago. Shut up, Cone, but for real, good game.
Yeah.
$10 donation from Andrew Hodge. Andrew, thank you. Jake already did that one. $5 donation from Hayes Freeman. What's up, Hayes? Ole Miss beat themselves. They went 1-10 on third down, and the play calling, especially on those third downs, every third down play seemed like it was just a QB draw.
Unprepared. That's what they looked.
$5 donation from Jacinto. What's up, man? Who's your favorite to make the G5 playoff spot right now, and why is it JMU? Also, rank the Dukes. #unbiased JMU alumni.
Yeah, look, I love the quarterback y'all have. Y'all gonna have to keep him. I don't think he's a senior. The Barnett kid, I think is his last name. Look, it's tough right now, man. I mean, you look at James Madison, UNLV, Army.
I'm switching allegiance to UNLV.
Like, I know Memphis won. Memphis is still hanging around there. Y'all I cannot believe y'all lost.
See, I questioned Barry Odom on why this other kid wasn't starting.
Yeah.
Fair enough, man.
He came in through for 300, and this kid's not starting?
It's
he goes 300 total
65%
yards.
completion percentage.
It's absolutely crazy.
Like, they're trying to take money back from the $3,000 back from Sluka. They're like, actually, we need that back.
$2 donation from Guy Sports. What's up? He says the Sooner magic is real, fellas.
Yeah, Auburn just blew it, too. I mean, it's Oklahoma. The Hawkins kid did what he had to do at the end of the game. You got to give him credit there, but Peyton Thorne, threw it to you, right to you. And
$2
tackle you.
Yep. $2 donation from WTH. What's up? It says thoughts on A&M going down in the rankings.
It's not going to matter. Look, A&M's got the road they have ahead of them. They can shut all that up. You beat Missouri this weekend, then they'll shoot you way up.
$5 donation from Maddie. What's up, man? Last time Liberty QB had to worry about any duck, it was Oregon last year. Trust me, Boone ain't ducking Jack. Prayers to those who lost everything over the weekend.
Yeah, man, prayers to everybody. It's tough.
Let's go to a $5 donation from TJ. He says, it was bowling shoe ugly, but my Canes pulled it out, baby. 5-0, sweat off my forehead.
Defense worries me. Who does Miami? Miami's got somebody this weekend. Like, it's trying to remember who they play. By the way, Syracuse is in an interesting game this weekend as
Miami's at Cal.
At Cal. I think that's where game days.
Oh, and then at Louisville. They actually have a bye, and then they go to Louisville.
Yeah, that defense needs to start coming on. Like, they need to start coming on.
Let's go to a $5 donation from Dr. Drebbles. He says, speaking of Ole Miss, can we get faking injury off David's lawn? How can it be eliminated from the game? Sit out the rest of the drive?
Yeah, well, we said this.
That's a good idea.
It started happening, and you're seeing more people talk about it on social media now. I think it's an easy fix, and that if you get injured, you have to sit out the rest of that drive or series or whatever you want to call it. That will stop it. It's unfortunate that we'd have to do that. Because sometimes, and I'm not talking about your helmet gets popped off or whatever and you come back in, but the reason we have to do it is because y'all are abusing the rule. Like, so, to me, I think you need to sit out the rest of that drive. Pretty simple.
Let's go to a $5 donation from JD. He says, someone get McPherson off the toilet. Peyton, my man, Auburn needs a kicker.
Dude, I mean, somebody get this guy some Tums or something. Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor. And I'm sure it's a serious thing. I know the kid wants to play, but I thought he went through warm-ups kicking the ball. I mean, that talent, look, Talents McGee shouldn't be kicking right now for Auburn. I get he's an Auburn high school kid. Maybe if y'all got an Opelika kid, he would have made it, but that's a story for another day.
That sounds purse.
It just, what did I say, pseudo-dysphagia?
I don't know what you said.
It's a sickness. It's a sickness.
Yeah, I'm freaked out when you say that.
Pseudo-dysphagia?
Yeah.
Look, the fear of choking.
It just doesn't sit right with me.
I mean, Auburn, you need forget a get-back coach on the sideline. You need a Heimlich coach.
All right, let's go to a $2 donation from Jerry Sandusky. What's up, man? Says the Braves are in. What are you laughing at, guys?
What?
Okay. Says the Braves are incapable of holding on to a lead.
I don't want to hear it. I've had enough of that for the past 3 days.
I don't want to hear anything from Jerry Sandusky.
Yeah.
You've done enough.
You did way too much.
Yeah, maybe you should have let go of something. $2 donation from Michael D. What's up, Mike? Says, let's go Hoosiers. Defense win games, baby.
That
Signetti. Mom spaghetti. There's vomit on his sweater already.
I'm telling you, dude. Florida, if you're smart, you're smart.
Hey, stop trying to take him away from Indiana.
I'm not trying to.
He's a lifer.
I love Indiana.
He's a lifer, dude.
I love Indiana.
$5 donation from LB says, how about my Red Raiders pulling out a nail biter against
Hey, here comes Texas Tech.
Hey, shut up. I'm not done with it. 2-0 in conference play sounds pretty good. Can't wait to see all this weekend.
I know. I'm pumped for y'all. I'm a big Joey McGuire guy.
All right, I believe that's all the donations. No, one more donation, $5 donation from Mr. S. He says, after 4 weeks on the season, where would you have rank my Bucks in the NFC? Have them fourth behind the Vikings, the Niners, and the Lions.
I'd have to think about that a little bit longer. I do want to give a shout out to Tampa Bay. Took them on the money line yesterday.
You're going to shout out to him. Give a shout out to Baker Mayfield. Who didn't forget Baker?
Man,
who always believed Baker?
He got cooked by Tom Brady.
This guy right here.
Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom don't want any part of Baker.
What?
No part of it.
Yeah.
Baker, the cookie maker. Hezzy with a faker. Definitely not a Laker. All right, $5 donation from Old Sarge. Last donation of the day. Army and Efficient Boat Score are both 4-0 and rolling.
I'm loving it.
Can Notre Dame beat them both?
Did he say the boat school?
Boat school.
The boat school.
Yeah, it's good. Look, I'm telling you, this Army team to me, like, they're a problem. Like, and that offense isn't like, the Milli Vanilli triple option. It's real. It's real. There ain't no lip syncing. They got some add-ons to it that's pretty good.
All right, another $2 donation from JD. My dono was supposed to say, get him some Pepto.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Gotcha.
All right, poll. Who should be the number one team in the country? Alabama, Texas, Auburn. No, I'm just kidding. Ohio State or other? So Alabama, Texas, Ohio State or other?
Okay.
I'm going to say they said Alabama, 54%.
I like that. Other probably had a big draw, though. I'll go Alabama, 53%.
Ohio State, 3%. Other, 6%.
Ooh,
Texas, 18%.
slaughter.
Alabama, 70%.
Slaughter.
Wow.
Slaughter.
Wow.
All right. We appreciate you guys. Shout out to Bet Online, Responsible Man, and Tax Network USA. Great calls as usual. Got a great show for you tomorrow. Many more games to get to. A lot of other things going on, including the SEC and Big Ten trying to get 4 automatic bids to whenever the playoff gets recontracted in 2026. We gonna see. Like the chances of the Atlanta Braves not letting me down in Game 2. We're going.
God,
Bricks. Not a good omen.
Pseudo-dysphagia.
Money line.
Here's some pseudo-dysphagia.
I don't read good.
Goodbye.